Let's get it started in St. Louis, the gateway city. Today, the gateway to the Sweet 16 for two teams. Later, it'll be Wichita State and Kentucky. But first up, it's Stanford and Kansas, with the winner advancing to Memphis and the South Regional in a matchup with Dayton on Thursday. And hello, friends. Jim Nance with the national champion point guard of the UNLV Runnin' Rebels, Greg Anthony, Tracy Wolfson alongside. We are fortunate to have the great seat here to watch two terrific matchups today. First up, we've got Stanford against Kansas. Now, the Stanford team had not been in the tournament a long time. Experienced team going against a Kansas team that's still got the injury issues with Embiid, but a lot of talent too.
No doubt about it. When you look at Stanford, they're a bit unorthodox in their approach. They're athletic enough to compete with Kansas, but they're the type of team, they run their offense through the high post with Powell, and then their point guard is really more of an off guard. He doesn't handle the ball as well, so it's going to create a unique matchup issue, I think, for Kansas after playing an Eastern Kentucky team that tried to disrupt and speed them up.
What must Stanford do to put up a pretty good test here today for Kansas?
You talked about their experience, but they're also different in that they still rely upon quick starts. When they start well, they finish well. And if they got off to a great start against New Mexico, 6 of 6 for the field, I think they have to play well early to withstand the onslaught of the Jayhawks.
All right, Greg, more on Joel Embiid, who will not be playing today. Tracy has the story.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. While his team has been preparing for their games, Joel Embiid has been getting treatment and doing rehab. He still has yet to practice with the team. Bill Self, though, still believes that if they can get this win, they will have Embiid back for the Sweet 16. I spoke with Bill Self yesterday. He told me this injury is very common amongst elite athletes. It is not long-term. And then he reminded us of 2004 UConn's Emeka Okafor. Missed 2 Big East tournament games with a stress fracture in his back, and then went on to win the national championship, guys. They hope to have Embiid back for that, guys.
They would love to see him on the floor in Memphis, but first they must take on and defeat Stanford, a Stanford team with all upperclassmen, led by 2 Pac-10, Pac-12 first-team members, Randall and Powell. And then Kansas, they get the second most point production from the freshman class in the country, second only to Kentucky, led, of course, by Andrew Wiggins. And here are the officials who draw this assignment in the third round. It's Stanford, it's Kansas. They met in St. Louis in the tournament back in 2002. The Jayhawks won that matchup. It's a 2 seed against a 10 seed, and the Cardinal controls the tap. Powell sending it back to Randall, and here's Hustis.
And I'm really looking forward to the matchup of Powell and Ellis, because Powell plays a lot on the perimeter and really kind of facilitates their offense. How they match up with him is going to be important today.
Here is Powell, who lost it, trying to make a move to the basket. And it's Wiggins to the wing to Selvin. He's off on the shot, and well done underneath, boxing out by Stanford.
And Kansas, not a great three-point shooting team. Didn't make one in their win over Eastern Kentucky, and Selvin didn't make a field goal in that game.
And that's going to be a foul on Nadir Tharp. As you look at Johnny Dawkins in his 6th year, and this being the first year he has taken a team to the tournament, so he wins his first game in NCAA tournament play with the victory over New Mexico on Friday. A New Mexico team that was surging coming into the tournament. They only trailed in that game for about 24 seconds. That's Hustis off on that mark, and it was last touched by Tariq Black of Kansas. Bill Self, that was his 50th NCAA tournament game on the sideline at Tulsa, Illinois, and of course Kansas, the win over Eastern Kentucky on Friday, and that too was a game with a lot of intensity. A great job put up by the Colonels of Eastern Kentucky. A great part of that way. Randall off on the shot, and Tharp thinks more of it and brings it back outside for the Jayhawks.
And that's a good sign for Stanford. Not noted as a terrific transition team in terms of defense, did a great job of loading and containing Tharp on that possession. And I think this is going to be huge all day. Just take a look at Stanford as they try to get back. Everybody's focused on that basketball. You see Brown there with a good load. Just that recognition there forces Kansas to have to operate 5-on-5.
Anthony Brown is called for the foul. So the Jayhawks Get the ball in the hands of Wiggins, and he's fouled on the drive.
I think that's offensive.
Oh, it is. It's going to be on Wiggins as Nastich stood his ground.
In this game, too, from Kansas' standpoint, a lot of times that quick turnaround from Friday to Sunday you see here, good job of Nastich coming over with the weak side help to get that charge. When you play a different style, it takes some time to adjust because this Stanford team won't be overwhelmed physically the way Eastern Kentucky was on Friday.
It's a Stanford team that went 4-2 this year against top 25 competition, including a win at Connecticut, which is a mighty big achievement for a non-conference opponent to go in and win at Gamble Pavilion. 2 seconds to shoot. Powell, not sure he's aware of it, gets it away and hit the rim.
That's really good defense there. Way to sustain that for Kansas. The entire shot clock did not break down. Solid job.
Last touch by the Cardinal.
And you talked about that win over UConn. How impressive were they yesterday, knocking off the 2-seed Villanova? And they also, Stanford, probably should have beaten Arizona earlier this season in Palo Alto. This is a team that physically they won't be intimidated by Kansas. And remember, without Embiid, Kansas, while still deep on the front line, not nearly as effective against size.
There is Tarek Black, who did not miss a shot in the game on Friday. Good hustle there. Off the floor, it's Brown for Stanford. So we're more than 2 minutes in and nothing to report on the scoreboard as Randall with a nice move puts it up for 2.
And folks, if you haven't seen Chasson Randall, this guy can flat out score. He's already, I think, 7th all-time at Stanford in terms of scoring, and he's different. He's the point guard, but he doesn't play point. He is a scorer, and they really complement each other. Johnny Dawkins did a great job of building a system. There's a turnover, and Nadir thought a miscommunication there, but how about the split here? And he just attacks the big. You can see there the weak side, not able to get there. He's very crafty. When he's got it in his hands, folks, he's looking to score the basketball. Kansas is going to have to load their defense to contain him.
Averaged 19 a game this year, and as I mentioned, he and Powell right here, both Pac-12 first-teamers. Powell, who did not hit a shot from the field on Friday, gets this one to go.
And you can see the versatility. Folks, he's led Stanford in assists this year, and you saw moves like a small forward there with the penetration.
Harry Ellis knocks down the jumper. Ellis coming off a double-double against Eastern Kentucky, his 6th career occasion, 14 points, 13 rebounds.
And I'm not sure that Harry Ellis gets enough credit. I think he's their most important player, really for me a barometer for how Kansas plays, because he gives them stability offensively and a solid competitor on the defensive end.
It's Nastich sending it back outside. Powell, big man, can shoot it. That one rattles out, and it's off the hands of Nastich. So Powell had missed all those shots on Friday. 0 for 8 from the field. It was important for him to get one early.
And he gets space to operate in part. While Nastich is not a huge scorer, he's capable, so you have to honor him. You have to be connected with Randall on the perimeter, so he's going to get chances to attack one-on-one. He's just got to be efficient.
That's Tharp. All net.
And that's a positive sign for Kansas. Nadir Tharp really struggled yesterday in that first half against the pressure, but he can definitely stroke it from the perimeter.
Nastich, he bangs it home. You know, he hit his first 5 shots on Friday, which ran a streak to 18 consecutive made field goals. He missed his last one, and with that one, now he starts a new streak.
And you can see, we talked about at the top, the importance for Stanford to start well. They've made shots early, and right now, that's typically when you'll see them play their best basketball. So this could wind up being a really good test for Kansas.
That is Tarek Black, graduate student by way of the University of Memphis. He played the tournament all 3 years there at Memphis. He gets that automatic immediate transfer rule where he can go play another year because he's already graduated. The tie-up arrow will go to Kansas out of the break. In fact, both of these teams have Memphis on their mind. That's where they'll be headed with a win to the Sweet 16. And let's take a look behind the stats presented by LG.
Yeah, impressive game for Stanford. They only scored 58 points in that game, but a solid job defensively, and Randall was terrific. And then Kansas, a tale of two halves, really. They were 13 turnovers in the first half, got disrupted, but they were terrific in the second and aggressive in attacking the paint.
Stanford band having a big time here in St. Louis, and now we come out with the Jayhawks in the NCAA tournament field for the 25th consecutive year.
And this is interesting. You knew Stanford would go to this 1-3-1. Kansas worked on it a little bit in practice and had some struggles with it. Let's see how they handle it here today.
Tharp and Powell able to secure it for Stanford. All the 10 starters still on the floor, and it's a deeper team on the Kansas side, even without the services of Embiid.
Yeah, definitely deeper. 29 points they got off their bench in that game against Eastern Kentucky. Stanford only 5, so this is about how well their starters play and whether or not they can also stay out of foul trouble against Kansas.
That foul call on Wayne Selden Jr., the freshman from Kansas, by way of Roxbury, Massachusetts, is Selden. And you'll see coming into the game, Connor Frankamp, who gave them some very valuable minutes.
More than that, he was the best player on the floor, I felt, for Kansas in that game because of what he meant to them, taking control of tempo and just settling down yesterday, or I should say on Friday. 10 points, 4 or 6 assists, and no turnover.
That's Powell. He was looking for an option, even in an act of shooting, and it's off the back of the rim.
Yeah, good adjustment defensively there by Ellis. Again, he's got the ability from a lateral quickness standpoint to guard bigs on the perimeter.
Pass trying to go inside to Ellis with a no-look style to it, and Ellis not exactly ready for that one. Over the top they go, and open is Eustace, who misses the shot.
Nice find by Nastich, and to your point, defense was there.
Traveling call. Well, right around the corner, the tradition unlike any other. The Masters and Masters Live will stream exclusive video of Amen Corner 15 and 16 and 2 featured groups. For more, go to cbssports.com/masters and masters.com. Jamari Traylor comes into this game off his best performance. 17 points and 14 rebounds. His first career double-double. Huge game just the other night. And driving in, they go backdoor to Randall. Well done by Powell. The big man, as you mentioned, is their leading assist guy, hitting it right back. Eustace, he's going to take a 3. Powell inside and the putback. 4 quick wins for the Cardinal and a timeout, Kansas.
That's a very good timeout by Kansas. We talked about they make the adjustment, putting Frankamp in, and Randall, his ability to play without the basketball, and then Powell. He was not a factor against New Mexico. He's been a difference maker here early on.
Tomorrow on CBS, after 9 years in the making, the big day has finally arrived. The How I Met Your Mother wedding. You can't miss. Catch the last new episode before the finale on the 31st. It's How I Met Your Mother tomorrow at 8/7 Central on CBS.
You saw there was a little clip. The feet came together between Frankamp and Randall, but a smart play, I thought, by Randall to jump the freshman right away. Don't let him work himself into the game. And then that was the 5th turnover already here for Kansas. Remember yesterday, Jim, 13 in that first half against, or I should say Friday, against DKU.
It's going to be a foul here on Stanford. And it's going to be on Gage, who had just come in. John Gage. Yeah, they had, talking about Kansas, and a lot of that you got to chalk up to the pressure applied by Eastern Kentucky, something they were very good at all season long, forcing turnovers. 13 in the first 16 minutes. But once Kansas settled down, only one over the last 24 minutes.
And the difference in that game is Eastern Kentucky really only played one style. So what happens is you get accustomed and comfortable with what they're doing, and that's what happened for Kansas. Stanford's done it a little bit differently. They're mixing their defenses. They played some man. They played some 1-3-1. You saw Randall jump full court with the pressure. So they're trying to do it from the standpoint of not allowing Kansas just to rely on their instincts.
Tapped up, no. Boy, Randall had a good look, and Houston's had a good chance to tap it in. 2 close looks. Ellis feeds it to the wing. This is Wiggins' first attempt, and it's good.
I tell you, he has just continued to improve so much over the course of this freshman year. The expectations were just so high, it's almost impossible to live up to it, but the guy had a phenomenal season this year.
Gage comes off the bench and hits the shot. Gage, the senior from Vashon Island, Washington.
And he's really primarily a three-point shooter, but they're showing some ability to step in and knock down a mid-range.
Here he tries to defend. It's Ellis on the far side with the offensive rebound and 2.
And I like Ellis's activity. He is going to be so important today because without Embiid, he's really the one guy I think that can consistently score. I don't know that you're going to see that from Traylor and Black today, so vital that Ellis have a solid game.
First points in the paint for Kansas, that one. And Randall gets the generous roll.
It's interesting, too, because Frank Camp got his hands full. It's easier for him yesterday to have to handle the pressure. Today it's about his defense and can he keep Randall in front of him.
Frank Camp loads it up. Off on the 3. Powell boxing out, shielding Ellis.
And they've done a really good job here early on that defensive backboard. Remember how dominant Kansas was Friday on the offensive glass. They had 14 in that game.
Here's Gage driving in, and he'll go to the line.
You know, Jimmy, we talked a little bit about that quick transition from Friday to Sunday, and sometimes with young players, they rely too much on the scouting report. You see Ellis there with a beautiful offensive rebound, but Stanford early on, boy, showing a lot of poise against the number 2 seed.
Greg Gumbel in New York with an All-State Good Hands update. This is how we get started today. Coming up next on CBS, Kentucky against undefeated Wichita State, and then out of the East, it'll be North Carolina against Iowa State. That's still to come and gets this busy tournament Sunday off and running. Jim, Greg, back to you.
All right, Greg, and just think about it on Friday, Sweet 16 in Indianapolis, Louisville against Kentucky or Louisville against Wichita State, which would be a rematch of last year's Final Four game. That will be huge. Now we got John Gage at the line. This is coming off of Perry Ellis's first foul. And Gage now with 3 points off the bench. Watch games on your Amazon Kindle, Android phone, iPhone, iPad, or computer with NCAA March Madness Live. Watch now, ncaa.com/March Madness. And Ellis will get a little break as Stanford's lead is 5, midway point first half.
And staying in that 1-3-1, Kansas really has yet to figure out how they want to attack it.
Robbie Lemons here, coming in and defending on Frank Camp. 5 to shoot, back out to Frank Camp. Steps up, that's a 2. Wide of the mark. And they're doing a good job boxing out all but one occasion at that end of the floor.
Yeah, they've been able to compete on that defensive backboard. And it's interesting, too. Like basketball, a lot of times you want to just make your opponent think. And there's Powell, again, creating a matchup problem for Kansas because at 6'10", he has such an ability to put the ball on the floor, and bigs typically aren't used to defending on the perimeter. So that adjustment for Bill Self in Kansas is something to keep an eye on.
So Powell coming off of Tariq Black's first foul. It's that free throw, and Ellis Getting a little assist there from the training crew. I was talking to Dwight Powell yesterday after the practice. He told me, you know, they were in that first slot on Friday, the early game, 1st to 4. How did he celebrate? He had to go back to his hotel room and write a paper. Perspectives in Assistive Technology was the title of the class that he's taking, and paper he had to present. That's how you celebrate an NCAA tournament win at Stanford. And Eustace running toward it. And it will stay with Kansas.
And then early on, Bill Self again still trying to figure out what fivesome, if you will, for Kansas can attack this 1-3-1 and where they can get some good looks. But early on, they have really struggled here to deal with it.
They bring Selden back in. It's Tharp. And Wiggins soars for the rebound, and he's rejected from behind by Powell. Powell's off to a big start. It's Brown. He was 3 for 3 from out there against New Mexico. Selden in the paint, and he gets it.
And that's one of those opportunities in transition that I was concerned about from Stanford's standpoint. And that's a big basket also for Selden, just to get him off the snide a little bit. That's his first field goal in the tournament.
And that breaks the 6-point run by the Cardinal. Powell's taking it in on Black, and too strong. Traylor is there to sweep it.
Well, good job by Black, forcing Powell to go over him as opposed to allowing him to get around.
Selden, fresh off a basket, looking for another. Foul is going to be on Brown for Stanford. That'll be his second.
Take a look here. This is a great decision by Tharp to kick it ahead. See, that creates the angle for Selden then to attack the rim there. That's a really good job by Tharp, and then an even better job with the finish. You can see there, not an easy shot for Selden.
Tharp inbounds it to Ellis. Here's Wiggins trying to make the move on Powell. Now Ellis. And again, Stanford does a good job of shielding.
How about that contest there by Eustace, all-time leading shot blocker for Stanford.
Last touch by the Jayhawks. Under 8 first half. And it's the Cardinal in front 18-13.
Coverage of the NCAA men's basketball tournament is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts, Coca-Cola, and by AT&T.
Back here in St. Louis, Stanford has not trailed in this game. The largest lead of 7 at one time, just a couple of turnovers committed thus far by the Cardinal versus 5 by the Jayhawks.
The 5 turnovers have been an issue, no doubt about it, but they haven't had as many here recently. The issue has been their inability to attack this 1-3-1 zone. They really have not been able to hurt Stanford in the paint. Right now, Stanford plus 4 points in the paint. You go back to Friday against Eastern Kentucky, where Kansas had 54 points in the paint. So the fact that they can't dominate that area means it's going to be vital that they figure out a way to get some consistency and try to get Stanford out of that zone.
It's Lemons, who hit 2 big free throws in the late going against the Lobos. Trying to feed it down low and led Powell a little too much. That turnover by Randall. One other thing about Stanford in the way they've been able to pack it in and fundamentally box out at this coming into the floor. No early foul trouble by any of their bigs. Nastich usually has some issues with that, but nothing to be concerned about right now. Stolen by Randall.
And that's a great point. Johnny Dawkins has got to use Gage and his bench. They're almost like middle relievers in baseball. They're just trying to eat up minutes with their guys off the bench. And early on here, they've done a good job.
Once again, though, the Cardinal, 2 straight trips, turns it over. They had 2 before that last break.
Oh, man.
They've got 2 coming right out of it.
Sorry about that part, but Tharp missed Perry Ellis. He had a wide open post with no help and could not recognize it.
Down low. And a shove from behind will send Tarek Black to the line for a couple.
We didn't recognize the first one, but a great job there with the post entry to Black to pick up the foul.
That is on Powell, his first. Tarek Black. Again, working on his master's degree at Kansas after being an all-conference academic member, Conference USA at Memphis, and playing in the NCAA tournament every year. The coach, Josh Pastner. Tuesday on CBS, America's top agents are on the case. It's TV's #1 show, NCIS, and it's Tuesday at 8, 7 Central. Sits down after contributing 4 points off the bench and replaced by the starter Nastich.
And that's huge. Remember, Stanford only had 5 points from their bench the entire game against New Mexico, so already getting positive dividends, but now they're having some issues. Kansas doing a better job just starting to extend the pressure and up their intensity level. That's 3 straight turnovers now for Stanford.
And Stanford has brought in Marcus Allen, the freshman from Las Vegas. Another set of twins now on the Stanford campus with Marcus and his twin Malcolm. And a traveling call, turnover this time by the Jayhawks.
Now, that's the second travel called against Wiggins. The first one I thought he did a good job of holding the pivot before he made his move, but nonetheless, turnover for the Jayhawks.
And that's Tharp's second with the body pump.
Let's take a look at that last one then and see if. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Good call by the official. He definitely lifted that left pivot foot. And that's the one area. Andrew Wiggins, to me, probably the most gifted freshman in the country. Not as polished as, say, a Jabari Parker, but that speaks to it. It's still going to be a process as he develops and refines the fundamentals of the game, but what a terrific talent and what a great year he's had thus far.
And we got another one coming up in the second game here, Julius Randle.
We got several.
Yep,
we're going to see in that game.
Here is Jason Randle. Overshot it. Ellis up ahead to Selden. And he is rejected by the Cardinal all-time shot blocker, Josh Hustis.
And that was an example where Selden didn't get to the body of Hustis, so he allowed him to gather. And that's what a shot blocker looks for. When you want to attack a shot blocker, you have to get to their body so they can't gather and regroup. Terrific play there by Hustis.
That's one way to shut down a fast break opportunity. 6 minutes to go, and it's 18-15. Inside, Black is blocked. That was Powell from behind, but there was contact elsewhere. Well, they're going to call it on Powell. His second.
Yeah, there's contact there, really more so down low. It's not so much up top, it's the contact down low, although I didn't necessarily think that should have been a foul, but it's a big foul because that's number 2 on Powell.
Just after we talked about no foul concerns, 2 quick ones for Powell, and now he'll be shuttled out for John Gage.
And if you're Johnny Dawkins, though, the fact that Gage got in early and scored 4 points, his confidence is going to be higher. Anytime you have guys who aren't necessarily comfortable at scoring or big scores, when they get a basket, it makes them better basketball players. So let's see if Gage can give him some quality minutes here, because he's probably going to have to stay out the last 6. The one advantage, though, if you're Stanford, this one-possession game, as long as this game stays close, it gives the luxury to Johnny Dawkins to keep Powell on the bench.
Stanford still leads, but has not scored, not hit a shot in 5 minutes. And again, it's turned over. Look how fast Allen is. Comes up, steals it, and saves it What a sensational play by Marcus Allen.
That was unbelievable hustle there by the young fella.
Oh.
And now let's see offensively if you're Stanford. Can you get Nastich involved, who is a good post player?
Eustace, he was held by Selden. So it'll stay at this end. Selden's second.
How about take a look at the speed of this young man. Watch him just break on this ball. My goodness. I'd like to test his 40 time, right?
It would be a low number. It'll send Eustace to the line for a 1-and-1. The senior from Great Falls, Montana, who was Mr. Basketball Montana both his junior and senior years. I mentioned all-time shot blocker. Gave him 1,000-point scorer in his career just Friday. They've got 4 1,000-point scorers in their starting lineup.
And although this is only Stanford's first journey into the NCAA tournament, remember 2 years ago they also won the NIT. So they do have tournament experience, and although I will say there's nothing like the opportunity to play in March Madness.
Here's Black on the blocks, puts it up, too strong, and on the floor again. It's Traylor, and bouncing outside to Randall.
And look at the difference today in terms of the ability of Stanford to contest shots on the interior. You didn't see that Friday from Eastern Kentucky.
We have not had a field goal either side for more than 4 minutes. Here's Nastich. Gage tops in his conference from out here. Couldn't ask for a better look. Whips it inside to Eustace. Fade away. He is blocked by Wiggins. Traylor with a quick release. Out to Mason, who finds Wiggins. Wiggins to handle that shot. And a tie-up arrow going the other way.
A great energy and activity on that play. Wiggins got the terrific block, but didn't want to take that little 17-foot, what I call that short 17 baseline jump shot. Decided to attack Eustace, who was able then to contest his shot and force the held ball and get possession. And Jim, if you're Stanford, remember 58 points last game. They held a very solid New Mexico team to only 53 points. So this is the style they want to play and the adjustment they've made in this tournament.
Finally, we have a basket after 6 straight misses for the Cardinal. And a 6-minute and 55-second stretch without one on the Stanford side. Meanwhile, Kansas hasn't made a shot from the floor in a long time after 7 straight misses. Skip pass, Frank Camp. He's got the 3.
That's a big shot. I was wondering if he'd still have the confidence. He's passed up a couple because he hadn't shot it well, but that's a huge three-pointer for Kansas.
And it's the first 3 they've made in this tournament after, again, getting blanked by Eastern Kentucky on Friday.
And while they have had their struggles, Kansas offensively, they've been pretty solid defensively in this game.
Gage, he's getting some looks, but unable to connect from out there. 0 for 3 from the outside. Pull-up shot, Traylor, no. Look how high Eustace goes for that rebound.
You know, and that's what I was wondering. When you look at Stanford, they're not uncomfortable playing physically against Kansas because Arizona is a similar team. So they have a feel for what Kansas brings defensively.
Here's Nastich. That's going to be a walk. So Frank Camp hits the Jayhawks' first 3 of the tournament, and that stirred this Kansas crowd. But Stanford still leads, has never trailed in this one. Here is the Infinity Coaches Spotlight. Johnny Dawkins, captain of Coach K's first Final Four team and beat Kansas down in Dallas in the national semifinals. For more on Johnny, let's go over to Tracy Wilson.
Well, that's right. And Jim, yesterday, Johnny Dawkins said moving over on that bench 18 inches from a player to an assistant coach and now to a head coach is a big difference. With coaching in his first tournament, he reached out to Coach K for advice. And Mike Krzyzewski told him two things: follow your instincts and tell stories. He said, don't be afraid to tell your team about your experiences in the tournament. That's exactly what he did. And he said he believes it has really helped his players. And you could bet Mike Krzyzewski very proud of Johnny Dawkins right now, guys.
No question. And how about the fact that Duke was playing in the same window, a little bit earlier tip than Stanford on Friday. And as Johnny was out debuting as a head coach in the tournament and winning, Duke, of course, got upset by Mercer. And that same time block.
And Johnny Dawkins also with a lot of pressure on him coming into this tournament. These kids really showed up big in that first game.
It's Mason. Gives it up to Traylor. Nastich influenced that shot as Traylor's frustrated that he couldn't convert.
And Stanford, they started off early, some 1-3-1. They switched it to some 2-3 again, just continuing to give this young Kansas team different looks defensively. The chess match continues.
And that foul is going against Kansas. And Tarek Black second. Interesting. Powell back on the floor with 2 minutes to go in the half with two fouls.
Keep an eye on that. The zone helps because you don't necessarily have those individual responsibilities, so you're less likely to pick up a foul, but it's still a big decision here by Johnny Dawkins.
Stephen Nastich. We'll get one more coming up. AT&T at the half with Greg and Clark, Kenny and Charles. First half highlights and a live chat with head coach Archie Miller of Dayton, fresh off the upset of 3-seed Syracuse. That's all coming up. AT&T at the half, and of course Coach Miller watching this game with great interest because his Dayton team will take on the winner in Memphis on Thursday.
And how about the Millers? Archie Miller, also the brother of Sean Miller, who's leading Arizona. Both have done a terrific job. And Brandon Green has checked into the game for Bill Self. Doesn't play a ton of minutes, but they're just trying to find somebody to have an impact. Remember, Frank Camp was that guy in that first game. Will Green be the one that steps up and makes some plays for Kansas?
Green is a three-point specialist. Here is Ellis. And you notice, too, that Powell went back to the bench during the free throws. Nice speed, and unable to finish it is Ellis.
Wow, what a nice delivery by Mason there with that pass.
Stanford calls the timeout. Golden opportunity. So again, Dayton is already set for Memphis and the South Regional. UConn's going to New York. Congrats to Kevin Ollie, having the Huskies back with a tournament run. And Kansas seeking a fourth straight trip to the Sweet 16 right now, but never leading in this game. Stanford with the 22-19 advantage, just outside of a minute to play first half. Holding Kansas to only 28% from the field.
And remember, they had a similar experience with another West Coast team, San Diego State, who beat Kansas in Lawrence, held them to under 30% shooting for that game. So
2 to shoot. Randall got it away. Ball on the floor picked up by Ellis.
And the transition defense for Stanford has really done a good job forcing Kansas to have to play against the zone. There's a good decision there.
That could tie it. Oh, it was halfway down and then tapped in by Traylor.
Great job. Really great execution offensively. Terrific look by Mason. Even better rebound there by Traylor.
Should be the last shot for Stanford. Mason guarding Randall, who gives it up with 9. Here's Brown trying to split. Frank Camp has it. Frank Camp, pull up three. Kansas hits the shot at the buzzer for its first lead of the game.
And we've talked about Stanford's defense, but it was Kansas's defense down the stretch. They come up with the steal, and a great decision, really, by Frank Camp, because, folks, he's a shooter. That's what you want him taking right there. Beautiful timing and the delivery.
Connor Frank Camp, freshman from Wichita, pulls up, hits the three, and changes the momentum heading to the locker rooms. Let's go to Tracy.
Well, thanks a lot, Coach. First, let me ask you about the importance of that shot there to take the lead going to the locker room with some momentum.
Well, I think it was important. We didn't play very well. We guarded, but we got to get some guys to calm down and relax a little bit. But our bench came in and did a great job.
What are they doing defensively that's giving you so much trouble right now?
Well, they're big, and we're not that big, standing height-wise, and we're struggling scoring over their length, and they're gapping us in the zone, and we need to make plays. Our little guys need to get in there and help each other.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Jim?
Thank you, Tracy. They had big closes to each half on Friday, and it's 13-4 Jayhawks to close out this half with the lead at 24-22. We'll send you to AT&T at the half after this message and a word from your local station.
They're not.
Coverage of the NCAA men's basketball tournament is sponsored by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes cereal, Subway restaurants, Hayes, and by GMC Sierra.
Well, Stanford went the last 4 minutes without hitting a shot, making only one of its last 9 from the field. Did not make a 3 in that half. Jim Nance, Greg Anthony, and Tracy Wolfson back here in St. Louis. How did you see it, Greg?
Well, I thought early on Stanford did a pretty good job in terms of offensive execution. In part, I thought Powell, he, again, is the guy that kind of sets. He's like a point forward. He sets their offense. They're a beautiful backdoor to Randall. But for me, the sequence that really has separated the game at the end, that offensive rebound put back by Traylor, then they get the steal right before the half expires, and Frank Camp is able to come down, knock down that triple. In a game like this, those 2 plays could end up being the difference, because you got to expect Kansas to come out with some momentum. But credit Stanford, controlling tempo, keeping Kansas out of transition, and forcing them to have to beat them over the top.
And Andrew Wiggins was not a factor in that first half.
Not a factor, and I tell you what, that zone had a lot to do with it. He only had 2 points and 3 turnovers. He didn't have any space to operate. That's got to change for Kansas in the second half.
He'll be inbounding. He had 4 rim rattlers on Friday night. Again, a 13-4 close to that first half for the Jayhawks.
Stanford comes out in the man-to-man, which is probably a little easier for Kansas to attack. And again, another turnover. Nadir Tharp has really struggled in terms of taking care of the basketball. 4 turnovers in that first half on Friday. 2 here today.
It was Hustis who read it and stole it, and then right over the top, Brown throws it over the head of Powell, and we go over to Tracy.
Well, guys, I had a chance to speak with Johnny Dawkins coming out of half. He was happy with his team's effort defensively in that first half, but he was not happy with the 7 offensive rebounds for Kansas and the points off turnovers. As for Andrew Wiggins, he said they made a conscious effort to slow him. We're not going to stop him, but we need to continue to contain him, guys.
Okay, and Nastich just made quite a play as he turned away Perry Ellis's slam.
Well, no doubt about it. Perry Ellis had bad intentions on that attack of the rim, and Hustis wouldn't have, or Nastich, I should say, wouldn't have any of it.
Start. Black. Patient.
Yeah, how about the senior there? Just under control there. Did enough to force Nastich to commit and able to finish. Also, good job there by Tharp of forcing the help and finding Black.
That is the 3rd foul on Selden.
Take a look.
Here's the play by Nastich.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
That's a heck of a block.
Hustis fouled by Wiggins. Took the inbound lob and went right up with it. And Wiggins has 2.
Kansas really fell asleep on that baseline out of bounds there. Good read on the pass, and Hustis to the line.
Talking to Hustis yesterday, so proud of his brother, Christian Dean, who was recently the 3rd overall pick in Major League Soccer by the Vancouver Whitecaps. And since they're about a month into the season, Christian not able to attend the game, but they stay in constant contact with one another. Okay, Jayhawks push it up the floor, and Tharp put back by Black.
Well, you heard Tracy talk about one of the concerns for Stanford, the offensive glass there. The attack by Tharp creates the opportunity on the offensive backboard, and they are starting now to have more impact on the interior.
Outside on Tharp, his 3rd foul.
And really, it's about the push here in transition. You see, you have to come help, and you look at that play there where Black's able to just follow that up, and that's what bigs are looking for. Bigs love to play with guards who penetrate and attack the rim because it's going to create opportunities for those guys to get to the offensive glass, and that's the 3rd there on Tharp.
And Kansas now has Mason and Frankamp in the backcourt as they sit Tharp with the 3 fouls. Hustis, big step to the basket. Nastich inside and 1. Stefan Nastich.
Jim, another example there of the attack, the penetration by Randall. You see how they had to step up. You see Black step up on that play. That allowed Nastich right there to get that offensive rebound and the putback.
Breaks a 5.5-minute stretch without a basket for Stanford. 3rd foul on Black, so 3 on Black, 3 on Tharp. 3-point play by the Cardinal.
And it also allows Stanford to kind of extend their defense. You can see here Kansas starting to deal with a little bit of foul trouble. And Stanford goes back into the zone.
It's Mason. He's open, and he's long. It's Nastich, who had it knocked out of his hands by Traver. And again, Embiid saying, come on, guys. Get me to Memphis.
Yeah, that's true, but Bill Self probably imploring a little bit more right now. Just wants to see his team fight. They have the last 7 or 8 minutes, they're definitely playing a lot better on both ends.
Here's Brown with the jumper. And that's Ellis. Uh-oh, could be Powell's 3rd on the reach-in. It is.
And unlike Kansas, Johnny Dawkins doesn't have the luxury of being able to go to the bench. Clearly there, Powell with the foul. Let's see how Dawkins plays this. Does he trust the senior with the 3 fouls to stay out there? This could be a critical juncture of this game right now.
Well, he doesn't make a move. And Stanford in that zone.
And now it's going back. They played some 2-3. Now they're back in that 1-3-1.
Ball tapped to the corner. Last touch by Kansas.
And it's been interesting. They've actually, Stanford, rebounded better out of the zone than they have the man-to-man. They've primarily been hurt in the man-to-man on the offensive backboard.
Again, this Stanford team drawing a foul. That's the 15th foul of the half already on Kansas.
When you're a team that is struggling offensively, that could be big. There's still, we're just 2 minutes and 48 seconds into the half. Let's take a look and see if there's, no, that honestly, that's just a bad call there. Randall able to sell it, just throwing his head back. And Kansas has actually done a terrific job on Randall here since the start of the game.
Randall zips in and ties the game at 28.
And as soon as I make that comment, Randall able to come off the handoff there from Powell and get all the way to the rim. now with this 2-3, you got to get to the high post against that 2-3 zone.
Stolen. The double team forced to steal. Randall going up for the lead, and they got it back at 30-28. A 7-point run by the Cardinal, and a timeout by Kansas. Oh, Randall with back-to-back drives that were beauties.
Welcome back. Stanford on a 7-0 run. Take a look at this play here. You got weak side. They're going to run a weak side stagger, but more importantly, watch the rub there by Powell. Now, as he comes off, freeze it right here. You're going to see this high post action here. This is a difficult play for a 6'10 player to make on the perimeter. Watch this rub right there. As he comes off, you see that little nudge there? It creates a perfect angle for him to make that high post pass feed. Caught Kansas completely off guard as they weren't able to bring the help. And that's really been the strength of their offense all season. They run what's called a triangle offense, made famous by Phil Jackson and Tex Winter with the Chicago Bulls, where they feature their bigs at the high post. And Powell's such a terrific decision maker up there, and it plays to the strength of Randall, who's primarily their best scorer. So terrific job by Stanford on that possession.
There's the lob, and Traylor couldn't get hold of it. He was in position to dunk it down, but it slipped, only to get fouled. And that's Nastich's first. Nastich usually got some foul issues, but hasn't been the case today.
Yeah, and speaking of fouls, Jim, keep an eye. Remember, Powell's got 3. Dawkins trusting the senior that he can play with the 3 fouls because he is so important to what they do on both ends.
Let's go over to Tracy.
Well, obviously, Bill Self extremely frustrated after that last time out, and he said to them, stop the dumb fouls. He said they're already in the bonus. They're a great free throw shooting team. And then he looked at Perry Ellis and Andrew Wiggins, and he said, come on, get your heads on straight, guys.
There it is. The lob, the dunk by Landon Lucas, who just enters. It takes the feed from Mason.
And this is one of the things that I love about Bill Self as a coach. He's not afraid to play guys and give them an opportunity to see if they can spark the team, and that's an example of it right there.
Open shot, Powell. He answers.
And that high post play. It's so difficult to defend because bigs are they're like the great white sharks in the ocean. And the paint's the ocean. They're comfortable in the paint.
Right.
But when you bring them outside the paint and put them out on the perimeter, they're not as comfortable. And you've seen that play out here with Powell.
Up ahead, Brown. Blocked by Wiggins. Powell put back.
Boy, they have just created so many issues for Kansas. They have not been comfortable in attacking any of these zones, whether it be the 2-3 or the 1-3-1. They have just struggled. There's another example of it right there.
Oh, he set up Randall trying to save it on the side, and that'll count. That will count. 2 more for Jason Randall. And we got a break in the action. And this game has swung the other way. From 5 down to 6 up, Stanford. A 13-2 stretch for the Cardinal, and just arriving in the building, the undefeated Shockers getting set for their tilt with the Kentucky Wildcats. One of the marquee matchups of the weekend, no question.
I cannot wait to see those 2 heavyweights go at it, but right now we got a really good game here, and let's see now. Folks, the zone, if you're wondering why they're struggling so much, oftentimes you have to have bigs who are good decision makers at the high post if your guards struggle with their penetration against the zone. Kansas hasn't shown that ability here today, and it's really hurt them.
Driving in baseline to Selden. Selden and Tharp back on the floor with 3 fouls each. They sit Wiggins, who has been taken out of this game. And that's going to be on Brown of Stanford, his 3rd. Brown, by the way, who gives him 13 points a game, has been blanked in this one so far.
That's a big play there, too. And you're wondering, why is that called? The new point of emphasis, you're not allowed to put your hands on the players. They are made that a point of emphasis for the NCAA.
Inside and converting.
What a terrific pass by Selden. That was perfect. And leading Black to the basket.
Black now with 11 points. Tops for Kansas. Powell, spin around move, and he picks up his fourth. That is a big moment in this game.
They get him for the hook. Initially, I was looking to see if it was going to be a travel. Watch that left elbow. Watch it right there. Clearly hooked him there. That's a huge play. Watch that left elbow right there.
And he goes out at the 13:58 mark.
Yeah, dislodged Ellis there. Now let's keep an eye on Stanford now offensively, because Powell, even if he's not the guy making the play, he makes a difference with his presence on the floor.
And Nastich coming over to help Gage defend, but the foul is going to be on Gage, who had come in for Powell, his second.
And remember, Gage not nearly the force on the interior that Powell is. There's so many areas you get hurt when you don't have Powell on the floor.
Coke Zero wants to know, are you a real fan? Hashtag prove it. Visit the Coke Zero social arena in March Madness Live. Wouldn't it be something if Kansas wins the game, goes back to Memphis, and Tarek Black gets to go back and play where, you know, he played the start of his career for the University of Memphis before transferring after graduation here to get that bonus year.
I got a feeling, Jim, a lot of people in Kansas are hoping he gets that opportunity. I bet they're a little bit more nervous right now than they were when this game started.
Can't get the second to go, but it's a three-point game now. Randall bringing him up. Randall leading the Cardinal with 12. Sends it down low to Nastich. Little shot off the glass, and Nastich now with 8.
And it's funny, Nastich is not a guy that gets a lot of opportunities, but when he gets them, he is extremely effective on the offensive side. 57% on the season.
There he is defending and influencing that shot, which is rebounded by Gage. Well, those percentages by Nastich. Again, he just comes off a streak that ended against Eastern Kentucky with 18 consecutive made field goals. Here he is. Will he try the jumper? He's made one in this game already from out here. Can he do it again? Yes.
And folks, take a look at what we're talking about with the bigs of Stanford. Look at their ability to be playmakers. That was an example. Nastich throws a post pass and then is able to also knock down a perimeter jump shot.
Timeout Kansas. They just went that whole sequence without Wiggins on the floor, and Nastich has hit all 4 shots.
Welcome back. 7-point lead for Stanford. And the key for me, Jim, with bigs is you want guys who have versatility. Look at here, terrific post position. He sets this play, and then he's also got that ability with that jump hook, but then also beautiful post speed, and then the ability to step out to the free throw lane. They don't rotate weak side to run him off that jump shot. He's able to knock that down, and we talked about the efficiency, Jim, 4-4 from the field.
And when you talk about a guy making 18 straight, he's 9 out of 10 from the floor in the tournament. It's usually a guy that can't make it outside of 3 feet. Most of them dunks, as you saw right there. The soft hook from outside, and then the jumper from the outside. He's making shots.
Yes, making shots, and also a presence defensively. You know, he's not just one of those guys, they like to call him space forwards. He's a guy that will go down and bang on the interior.
Ball bounces outside to Selden, who had missed. Now to the corner. Wiggins, can he get going? Oh, and Randall's out. And it's a foul on the Jayhawks.
And I will also tell you that Andrew Wiggins has not been aggressive in this game. Yes, it's a struggle because he's not comfortable attacking his own, but you have to be, if you're the best player, you set the tone not just with how efficient you are, but how aggressive you are in terms of playing the game. And right now he has not been, as Selden picks up that 4.
He goes out. Frank Cap, the only non-starter on the floor for the Jayhawks. as we move inside of 12 minutes. Using the full 35 here. Randall pinned in the corner. Swings it outside the gauge, and he lets it go from about 25.
Great job by Black defensively.
Skip pass. Back to Frank Camp.
And that's the first time today that they've gotten the ball to the high post against that zone. That's where they're going to have to start trying to attack this Stanford defense.
Second foul on Nastich. Stanford, a 10, trying to beat a 2 in St. Louis.
Welcome back to St. Louis. Stanford +7, and you take a look at this zone here and how, in essence, Kansas is only throwing it around the perimeter. The ball, stop it right there. The ball's got to get in here. If you get the basketball to the paint, now you're going to have opportunities. Look at that. He can attack there. Then your bigs just have to make good decisions. You'd like to see, if Powell sits down, he's got those 4 fouls. How about only 14 points in the paint? If you're Bill Self, you might want to think about maybe even getting Wiggins in that position at the high post. He's a much better attacker with the dribble, solid passer, and an overall better finisher.
Black at the line for 2 after the Nastich foul. And first round coverage of the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship continues today on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN3. For more information on game times and listings, go to ncaa.com. Black. He had it down to either Kansas, Oregon, or Duke to play this year.
And I like this move here. Extend the pressure. Remember, Stanford's solid, but they're better when you allow them to run their offense. Now they're trying to speed them up with this pressure and disrupt what they've been able to do.
Black has scored 9 of the Jayhawks' 11 in the half. And Stanford continues to sit Powell. He's been down for 3 minutes with 4 fouls. Randall over Frank Camp. And it's Traylor crashing in for the rebound. Tharp, pull up 3. Long board comes out to Randall.
Wow, and after that miss there, you can sense the nervous energy in this arena right now from all these Kansas Jayhawk fans. The reality starting to set in that this is no guarantee here against Stanford.
Well, they got excited in the first half when Mason hit a 3, and then, of course, Frank Camps played it in the half. But the momentum continues to belong to Stanford as Brown hits his first bucket of the game.
And another issue right now for Kansas, they're really small in the backcourt, and Tharp doesn't have the size against Brown. Brown's going to be able to get to those elbows and just rise right up over him.
It was actually Frank Camp who hit both of those 3s in the first half. It's Wiggins now, and he can't find it.
And that's where the youth and inexperience hurts you, because in essence you're open for a reason. Those are the shots the zone is designed to force Kansas to take, and Kansas, not being a great shooting team, settling. They have got to be more aggressive to attack the paint. That's going to be key down the stretch.
Wiggins now 1 out of 5 for the game, 2 points and 3 turnovers. Randall, it was off Tharp. We're inside of 10 minutes to go, and Stanford continues to dictate.
Yeah, they've controlled tempo, and it's funny, oftentimes when maybe you're not the favorite, you're the team that's got to make the adjustment. You've got to change what you do, and Stanford's done it this weekend. They did it Friday against New Mexico. They were able to slow and control tempo, and they're doing it here again against Kansas.
It's Gage. He's a good shooter, but he's off today. Kansas, meanwhile, misfired on its last 8.
They got to get that ball inside.
Mason lobs it.
There it is. The penetration right there, Jim. Sorry about that, but that penetration and great decision by Mason.
Mason with 16. That breaks a 5-minute field goal drought. Mason setting up Black. Been looking for some of this above the rim action.
Yeah, and it starts because they penetrate the defense, and that play right there might be the difference as to whether or not Stanford can stay in that zone.
Thursday nights, all new ball game this fall. Thursday night football on NFL Network and CBS.
You looking forward to a little Thursday night action?
Of course I am. Are you kidding?
I am as well, man. I'm excited about that.
You're a big Steelers backer.
Die hard. I saw Mike Tomlin was at the game and Belichick at the regional in I think, were they in Pittsburgh for that or?
They were in Orlando.
In Orlando. That was pretty cool to see.
Here's a shot from the corner, and look at this. Seconds into the game for the first time, Verhoeven hits the jumper.
And how about that? Grant Verhoeven, he only plays 6 minutes a game, but again, the fact that he can make a perimeter jump shot creates uncomfort for Kansas's bigs defensively.
It's Wiggins driving right past him, and Eustace able to snatch that rebound. They bring Verhoeven in. They got Gage still on the floor as they'll sit Nastich probably until the first break under 8. They're just trying to get him a little breather for the closing stretch. And again, Powell's still out with the 4 fouls.
Well, yeah, but you've got, now you can buy minutes because of this lead if you're Johnny Dawkins. And that last possession, Jim, that was one of the most aggressive moves Wiggins has made all game. Even though he doesn't make it, that's what he's got to do. You have to impose your will on the game when you're the most talented player.
4 on the shot clock and nowhere to go. 1 second on the shot clock. The ball will stay with Stanford out of the break. Tying right now its largest lead of 7. In the game summary, Stanford hasn't needed the 3, but Wiggins is desperately needed now for Kansas to step up.
Best player for Kansas, only 1 of 6 from the floor, has struggled to really put his fingers on this game. He's got more turnovers 3 than field goals here, and just not been an aggressive player, settled a little bit, and that's one of the things that happens with young players. Their game is defined by whether or not they make shots.
Now remember, there's 1 second on the shot clock. Stanford inbounding right now as we come out of the under 8. Randall got it away, almost buried it from 3. And his last touch there by Anthony Brown.
Let's see if this possession, either you can get Self at the high post or at least get one of your bigs in there where they can attack.
Tharp back outside Mason. Driving in, floater, and a foul. Tracy, what about Wiggins?
Well, guys, I was standing around that huddle, and there was a lot of attention paid to Wiggins from everyone, including Coach Self, and he just totally continued to tell him to stay aggressive. That was the key. Do not give up. Keep staying aggressive. Get him the ball, and let's see if they could bring him back into this game, guys.
You know, what I can't understand is why Kansas is allowed. You see Powell coming back in, 7:40 left. Great job by Verhoeven and Gage. Quality minutes for Stanford, but they've got to get him, I think, at that high post. They're not doing a good job of helping him scheme-wise. They're forcing him or making him play really in his area of weakness, which is 22 feet away from the basket.
And that's going back to Kansas. The pressure, the full court pressure got to the Cardinal.
And remember, Stanford does not have a point guard. Aaron Bright would have been that guy out with injury. And a good job there with that trap, forcing the turnover.
Not only is Powell back in, but Nastich too. Powell had sat for more than 6 minutes.
That high post is wide open.
Traylor driving in, and that's the second time Nastich has been called for the block. Both times he was already tilted back, falling before the contact.
Great point, Jim. And this is, when you get it there, there's no help So that's one reason why you'd like to see maybe Wiggins at that high post, because there's nobody there to provide help. And even though Houston is a shot blocker, because he's out on the perimeter, he's not always in a position to come and contest.
So now 3 on Nastich. All of them coming in this half. 2 of them while attempting to draw the charge is Traylor with 1 more coming.
And that allows them to set the pressure again at made free throw.
Randall back to Powell. Oh, and again, they can't handle it. Outside, Mason comes inside. Traylor put back, or puts up the shot off the glass, and it's Eustace. Again, double teamed. Suddenly, Stanford just can't handle the pressure that's being applied in that backcourt. Now they take off with Brown coming in. And
oh, my goodness.
And it's on Wiggins. What a change that was, just when Kansas was ready to cash in.
You can't ask for anything more defensively from Kansas, but the offense has been the issue. And how about Brown with the finish and the foul?
Just when it looked like it might be trimmed to 2. Mason even had a thought for a moment about launching a 3 that could have brought it to 1. Brown gets the 3-point play, and the lead is back to 7. And that leads to a timeout by Johnny Dawkins. Inside 7, up 7 in St. Louis. When the mother of all comedies ends, a fresh new comedy begins. Don't miss Friends with Better Lives, premiering after the series finale of How I Met Your Mother, Monday, March 31st, only CBS. And Greg, you love that timeout by Johnny Dawkins.
That was huge, because what that's all that timeout is about is, 1, let's settle down. 2, these are our principles of how to attack the pressure, because they've been rattled a little bit. Very fortunate that Kansas was not able to convert off of those turnovers.
Kansas had the looks. They've missed 11 the last 12 shots.
And again, there you go. They were able to get it there.
Dumping it down inside, and Black has provided almost all the second half offense.
And that was a great example of what they have to do, and it's made because Traylor made a great decision on that penetration.
Randall breaks free. Randall comes in, throws it up toward the rim, and he's headed to the line. Black has 13 of his 18 in this half.
And again, because they're able to get it at that high post there, and then the attack forces the help, and good hands and the ability to gather there by Black. But my thing with that play is I'd much rather have my best player in that position making those decisions. A little bit surprised that Coach Self hasn't gotten Wiggins at that high post.
Meanwhile, Black picks up his 4th foul at this end. And Randall, who was the player of the year coming out of Illinois, grew up in Rock Island, about a 3-hour drive away. He's got his mom and dad are here, Willie and Gwen, all kinds of family. His high school coach, and he is starring here in St. Louis.
And we haven't seen much from Perry Ellis.
How about
big shot?
Boy, was it ever. Again, they put on the pressure, and they get the steal with Dart. Mason again bypasses the 3. Tharp hits the outside shot, makes the steal, and they're a 3-point basket away from tying it. Wiggins. He is fouled.
And that's another foul. But that's on Nastich. Yeah.
It is his 4th.
But that's because they're attacking the zone. And what a big-time triple here by Nadir Tharp, who has had his struggles thus far in this tournament. But boy, did he come up big there. And Nastich, again, because they've attacked the paint against the zone, has put him in a difficult situation. That's 3 possessions now where he's picked up a foul because of Kansas' ability to attack the rim.
And if Wiggins makes the 2nd to move them within 1, they can apply the pressure, which has given Stanford fits and has turned this momentum.
And remember, no point guard. And Powell, although very good with the basketball in the half court, not nearly as effective in the full.
7-1 run by Kansas.
A little bit different dynamic energy-wise here from the crowd.
Powell, fadeaway and a foul.
Powell very, very fortunate right there to not pick up his 5th. So this is where he is so good in the half court. Yeah, you know what? The foul was on the hand coming down by Black, not so much on the body-to-body contact. And boy, is that a huge loss for Black and Kansas, because he has been phenomenal today.
He was the guy that really, at Stanford, opened it up to 7 a couple of times. Kept Kansas in this game with 13 second-half points, but he has fouled out. And Embiid can only watch and hope that somehow his team can pull out the victory and he can get back on the floor next week in Memphis.
One advantage, Perry Ellis, far better at making plays with the basketball, I think, at that high post. However, you also lose some of that bulk at attacking the backboard. So let's see how this plays out.
2 shots for Powell, the Pac-12 Scholar Athlete of the Year, a science, technology, and society major. He came as a decorated recruit by way of Toronto. And only 1 out of 2.
And I guarantee you right now, he's hoping to be a member of the Sweet 16.
5 minutes to go to find out as Traylor follows Ellis.
And again, it's all because of that attack by Traylor. And remember, 4 fouls on both Nastich and Powell, so they cannot be nearly as aggressive with their frontline defense. And that's going to allow for Kansas to be much more aggressive at attacking.
Got a tie game with 5 minutes. Back from 7 down, Kansas. Powell taking it inside again, and he banks it home.
How about the senior? What a big basket right there. All the momentum with Kansas. They needed that one. Back to the man is Stanford defensively.
Nastich, gotta be careful with the 4. Inside, Tharp. Too strong, and Powell has it.
It's a tough one. Not a bad shot, but I'd like to see a repost there, because again, Nastich and Powell both with the 4 fouls are not going to risk being overly aggressive.
Down low, coming around, and staying in bounds was Wiggins.
How about the tippy toe on the baseline by Wiggins? Huge steal for the Jayhawks.
It's the biggest play of the game he's made. As Stark sends it over to Traylor, down to Ellis. Ball on the floor, back to Wiggins. And it's going the other way, lost it out of bounds.
Big possession there, even bigger at that moment. Wiggins there. Oh, it looked like he stepped out of bounds on that play. I don't know if we can see it from this angle. That was close.
Stanford will be inbounding with the 2-point lead. And here is the degree 2 more moment of the game.
And in a game that's been mostly contested in the half court, this transition opportunity by Anthony Brown to finish over the high-flying Wiggins with the foul.
For more do more moments of the game, log on to degreebasketball.com. Nastich and Powell, the 2 biggest guys inside for Stanford, both with 4 fouls. Black is out. Selden has 4.
And how about the luxury of having the upperclassmen, Nastich a junior, Powell a senior. Understanding how to play with foul trouble has been really big for them thus far.
And that's off the leg of Traylor. Is again, Stanford, without that true point guard, is having such a difficult time getting the ball out of the backcourt.
team's next foul from here on out, double bonus. Stanford, an excellent free throw shooting team, so Kansas is going to have to defend without fouling.
It's Nastich. And now with 10 to shoot. Powell driving in. Powell puts it up. Too strong. Follow up, Houston. His second basket of the game's a big one.
Wiggins fell asleep a little bit weak side, and Houston's had the big play against New Mexico. We got that little drive and score late in that game. How about this offensive rebound by Houston? Again, it's the penetration. You see how everybody's got to go to the ball, and Houston's just pushed Higgins under the rim and able to come up with that offensive rebound. What a big play, and smart play not to bring it back down, to go right back up with it.
Behind the back to Ellis. Spins, puts it up, back of the rim. Randall had his hands on it for a moment. Now it's Wiggins. Tharp. Bouncing it over to Traylor. And Tharp to Mason. Traylor takes off to the basket. Blocked by Houston. And now it's scooped up by Randall.
Wow, we talked about Houston and that shot blocking ability. No bigger block maybe in his career than that one.
All-timer at Stanford. He broke Tim Young's school record, most blocks. And that was his second of the day. Bouncing it down low to Nastich. And that's his first miss of the game as the Jayhawks speeded up the floor, and Ellis almost had a three-point opportunity.
And they had Wiggins. If Mason had the confidence to lead him on that transition opportunity, he played it safe. They get rewarded. You watch on this wing. Watch Wiggins right here on that run out right there. You got an angle there if you can make that pass. It's a tight one. It's like threading the needle in football. That quarterback trying to get it between that corner and the safety. But they did get Ellis to the free throw line.
The foul was on Randall, his first. Gage for Nastich.
And also defensively, Traylor did a great job on that last possession. He forced Nastich about a foot outside of his comfort zone on that jump hook. That's probably why he missed that shot, Jim.
The double up on Randall. Knocked out by Traylor.
Boy,
it's never easy.
I tell you, if you're Johnny Dawkins, every time you got to take it out on the baseline, you got to get nervous right now because you know it's going to be a struggle against this pressure to just get the ball not only in play, but then to also try to get it beyond half court.
Up ahead to Powell. They've got it across. Back to Randall. Mason with the quick hands. Almost knocked it loose.
Now it's about being solid defensively if you're Kansas. Play without fouling. And if you're Stanford, let's get Powell or Randall involved.
It's Gage. Snaps it to Randall. 8 on the shot clock. Randall moving around on Traylor. And he palmed it. He carried it. They call it as Randall was trying to make the move away from Traylor.
Well, we talked about, that's an easy call right in front of the official. And again, a wasted opportunity because they had Powell prior to that that attempt at the drive. Weak side. They've got to, I think, in that half court, you can't get Nastich on that block. You've got to run the offense through Powell. Let him be the decision maker down the stretch.
Here come the Jayhawks down 2 with a minute and a half. Ellis driving in on Nastich. Bouncing around, and Brown has it. Splits the defenders.
You don't want to foul. It's still a one-possession game.
Timeout called by the Cardinal. The winner will advance to Memphis in a matchup with Dayton on Thursday. Stanford will be inbounding. 1 timeout left for the Cardinal, 2 for Kansas.
Keep an eye right down there. That's a big deal, that possession. If there's a tie-up, a jump ball, that possession arrow does favor Stanford. But right now, Stanford, you want to use the entire clock and let the ball end up in your best player's hands in a position to make a play. Powell at that high post, Nastich on the block, or Randall coming off some type of screen or handoff action. And if you're Kansas, let's play defense without fouling. They're in the double bonus, and they're a terrific free throw shooting team. Their best players are their best free throw shooters.
Powell takes off, and a foul is going to be called on Kansas and Ellis.
And that was it right there. Get the ball in the hands of your playmaker at 6'10". Not only does he put it on the floor, he does it go into his left. That's a tough call there. Let me see from this angle. You know what? That's the right call because Ellis had committed, then tried to slide over to his left. And that's where the call was made.
68%. Two-possession game.
A lot of time, though. If you're Kansas, you just got to get something quick hitting and going to the basket.
It's Wiggins moving quickly, lost it on the floor. And there's the arrow situation you talked about. It's Stanford ball.
Yeah, it's always something to keep an eye on late in games, especially when it's been a struggle offensively.
Wiggins a little out of control that time.
Yeah, I mean, they had a man-to-man, and also early in the offense like that, you get opportunities to attack because the defense isn't set. But he had already made up his mind the move he wanted to make, and that's an area where experience might have made a difference.
Ellis out, Lemons comes in. He made some late free throws. Did Lemons on Friday as Nastich sits.
Now, you have time to not commit the quick foul. I think you try to get a steal here early, but then if not, you might have to go ahead and take one. There's just not enough time to risk, especially in a game where you struggled offensively, to rely just on your defense in the half court.
Powell inbounds to Brown, who's doubled up, fighting off the pressure, and a foul call on Tharp.
A good call, and Traylor almost had the tie up there. Look at that right there. Just wasn't able to hold it. Credit Brown being just strong enough to rip that away and force the foul.
Fourth foul on Tharp. Brown's a very good free throw shooter, 80%.
He's 80. When you take a look at Randall, who's also a terrific free throw shooter, 77%. Wow, but he's 0% right now after that one.
Ellis back for Selden.
Again, still a lot of time.
They'll bring in Nastich for Lemons. Got the second one.
Good job here by Randall, not allowing him to inbound and then roll the ball up the floor, forcing him to use the clock.
Tharp's going to drive in, misses the short shot, and Brown with the rebound.
Wow. They have just not been able to get anything. Selden didn't play very well really the entire tournament. And then Tharp here, he's got an opportunity, but that's one where if you had the vision to see Ellis coming to the rim here, you got the commitment to the shot block, drop that off down low to Ellis for the slam.
We had a 2 seed go down last night. Villanova beaten by UConn. As Brown hits that one. And that one, a lot of people could say you could see it coming.
Yes.
Old conference rivals,
Yes.
a lot of history there. But didn't hear a whole lot of people talking about Stanford having a chance playing a game as magnificent as they have today.
And you should have, because if you think about Kansas this year, they've struggled against big teams that can match them on the interior. You saw it with San Diego State. Stanford, similar. They've got that size and also that experience on the front line.
So they're bouncing around. They can feel it. Timeout Kansas. And Stanford now has matched its largest lead.
And for a team that really hasn't shot the three ball well this entire tournament, only 3 of 20 when you combine the two games, the 3 is what you're going to need right now. Again, the time is not the issue. Now, you wonder with young players, does the time become an issue? Because if you got to bet your team 32 seconds, that's a lot of time. You don't have to even try to force a shot. You've got 8, 10 seconds, and wow, you don't think there's some passion from that fan base? He cannot believe it, poor fella.
This game doesn't turn around. We're not even going to get through the first weekend without the most 2 highly decorated and heralded freshmen in Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins. And a little rant here against us in the media, okay? You can't watch a Kansas highlight package on your nightly highlight show or a Duke highlight package with it almost entirely being about either Parker or Wiggins. These are both spectacular kids who are going to be phenomenal talents when they move on to pro basketball. But we make it all about their future in the NBA. Watch them. Let's be in awe of their ability to play right now. When we get reminded in this tournament, this is a team game right now.
Yeah, well, folks, it's not always about your basketball talent. It's about your ability to play basketball. And I've said it time and time again. You don't win with the 5 best talents. You win with the 5 players who play best together. But right now, Stanford clearly has been the better team.
Frank Camp hits a shot, and the Jayhawks have hope. Tapped out by Mason.
And again, same scenario. Great job and great play call here. Going with Frank Camp, coming off that stagger, right in rhythm. Great delivery there by Tharp as well. And again, enough time. Don't commit to get a quick steal. You can settle for 2. You don't need the 3 if you come up with a turnover.
Frank Camp's shot with 23 seconds to go now. Stanford inbound, and virtually every time it has been an adventure. But they're going to send Brown back to the line.
And that's one of those things where you want to attack that basketball. In your mind, though, sometimes you're just thinking about creating contact, and Brown with another opportunity.
He's 4 out of 5 at the line. All here in the last minute. He's made his last 4. Ellis back in. Got the second. 5-point game with 21 seconds. Still time. Look at the Frank Camp. He's got the shot. Oh, it's just phenomenal. Down to 2 and a timeout. He's hit 4 from the outside in the game, including the one to beat the buzzer at the half, and 2 here in the last 30 seconds of the game.
Well, he's hit the only 4 3-point shots that Kansas has made in the tournament. And none bigger than that one. Still a chance. 2-point game. And again, Stanford struggles to get it in. I remind you again, possession arrow belongs to Kansas. They've had a couple possessions on this baseline out of bounds where they've almost gotten the tie up. Let's see if they're able to pull it off here on this next one.
Incredible. No timeouts remaining for the Jayhawks. The officials are going to check to see how much time was on the clock when the ball went through the net.
That's about right. You go 14-9. Yeah, that's what they have on the clock.
Oh,
man.
Tears just a few moments ago, and now hope.
You know what? That's March Madness in a nutshell.
It defines it.
That's it right there. Now, this is a different setup offensively for Stanford. Triple stack, Lemons, the senior, out wide. Oh, he almost stepped out of bounds there. Wow, that was close. take a look. Did that foot? Boy, that is going to be close. Watch that foot right there. Oh, he was in. That's a great call. Boy, that was close.
Tharp has just fouled out.
And good job, I think, there by Johnny Dawkins. Went to a different look on that baseline.
You know, because the officials reviewed the shot by Frank Camp and how much time was left, Kansas was reinstated its timeout. So it has one. And meanwhile, they're using up all the time that they're allowed to replace a disqualified player as Tharp has fouled out. And Brown goes back to the line. To shoot two.
This is the one right here. Makes it a two-possession game.
They've got a shot. Frank Camp is on the right side. Mason to Frank Camp with 4. Gets the shot away. It's wide of the mark. Into the arms of Powell. And Stanford has pulled off the upset. The St. Louis Cardinal will advance to Memphis.
What a terrific job and game plan. Let's give Johnny Dawkins a heck of a lot of credit for coming up with the game plan that really confused the young Jayhawk squad all game long. Plenty of time. That bobble there, it allowed, how about the recovery there by Randall too? Able to not put himself out of that play and get the contest, and Frank Camp unable to really do what he had done over the course of the game, which is deliver from beyond the arc.
They come to St. Louis, and basically they're playing a road game. Kansas, as a 2 seed, awarded a site in close proximity to its Lawrence campus. The tears have returned, not only for that young boy, but so many Kansas fans. And Stanford's able to play in this environment and pull off the big surprise. Let's go over to Tracy.
Well, thanks a lot. And Coach, you said to your team yesterday at practice, defense will win this game. How impressed were you with the job they did against Kansas today?
Well, I was so proud of the effort. You know, I thought we defended very well most of the night. Our guys, that's what we buy into. That's who we are. You know, we're a blue-collar team, and our guys were able to win tonight on defense.
I just saw you give the 2 thumbs up to your Stanford crew over there in the stands. And you, as a first-year head coach in the tournament, and your players and these seniors, how important is it for this win for them?
What's important to have experienced players. You know, our guys are fighters. You know, they've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, and I'm just happy that they're having a chance to have some success.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in Memphis. Good luck.
Thanks, Tracy.
Tremendous coaching effort by Johnny Dawkins. He is moving on to the Sweet 16. And if you thought everything would hold to form in this bracket, if you thought you would see a Syracuse-Kansas matchup in the Sweet 16, you've got a 10-11 tilt on the way on Thursday. Stanford is alive and well and moving to the Sweet 16.